I love writing for the anti-media because it's so great to write for a Facebook page and a website that has so much awesome traffic. Um, there's no, this is not a libertarian or anarchist establishment, anti-media. There's definitely people across the political spectrum, and I can see where we disagree and where we agree. But it's beautiful because everybody generally is at the point where they're just sick of the system, and anti-media's tagline is grassroots revolutionary media, and it's always funny to me. Um, Whenever I go check on articles on the anti-media Facebook page, like some of my articles, and specifically the Bernie Sanders article I wrote this week, I turned the video into an article, 5 questions for Bernie Sanders supporters. And it's so, the hypocrisy, and it's just, oh, it's mind-numbing. I was in jail when Obama was coming out and being the savior and everything, so I missed all of that. I didn't get to throw up and, have that experience by hearing it. But I'm getting that experience the second time around now. It's really making me, puke a bit in my mouth to watch these people who literally, okay, so they post my article on the anti-media. There's a point to this story. I'm getting there. They post the Bernie Sanders article on anti-media, which, I mean, anti-media, we call out Donald Trump, we call out everybody, we call it the left, the right. We're not supporting any kind of party. We're just, you know what I mean? This is just calling out people and being authentic and being willing to call them out on their flaws. And so I had originally hoped, but I've learned over a period of time, unfortunately, that the anti-media audience, followers on Facebook, are not as open-minded or as quote-unquote awake as I believe they were, because a lot of these people are falling for the Bernie Sanders trap, and maybe you are too, and maybe you disagree, and that's fine. My point is, though, in the anti-media, generally everything is anti-establishment, anti-political, never endorsing a candidate or really even the system itself, always encouraging, building your own solutions, and that's what I like about it. But when we post this Bernie Sanders article, there's somebody that says, like, literally the first comment, and it got a bunch of likes on it, like several hundred, maybe even 1,000 people thought this was a good idea. So, like, I agree with your statement. This guy said, no matter what you say about Bernie Sanders, I'm not going to stop supporting him. And, and of course, thankfully, a bunch of people came and said, wow, that is, exactly what's wrong with this country. And I guess that's what we were seeing when Obama was running for president, was this, this worship. And so, like I said, I missed that. But now I'm seeing that with Bernie Sanders, not just with Bernie Sanders, but with all these politicians and the way that people do that. They tell you Bernie Sanders is this amazing, awesome person that's going to fix the world and make everything free, and all this hope they're putting in there. But then whenever I ask 5 simple questions that challenge those beliefs, and like I said, they show, okay, maybe there's some flaws in your thoughts on this man. Maybe he's not exactly going to be able to do what he's telling you, at least not in the way he's telling you it's going to happen. And people would rather just turn a blind eye, and there's that cognitive dissonance. And it's sad to me because a lot of these people, they probably fell for it with Obama, and if they didn't, maybe these are the younger people again. Maybe this is just a cycle that the elite, the powers that wish they were behind the scenes do, is they have, the state basically just has people constantly going for these bread in circuses to be a part of it. People want to feel like they're belonging, and they feel like voting is the best thing that they can do to really support the nation. And this guy, Bernie Sanders, is out there talking about a political revolution, which is a complete oxymoron. And people see bad things and they feel bad things and they want change and they're drowning in debt and all this, and this guy is promising the good. So now anybody that says anything, as I said in the article, is basically you get called a shill, or you must be a Republican, or you support Donald Trump, or just they come up with anything they can to just sort of dismiss you, and it's sad to see. So if you're in that boat, even if you support Bernie Sanders, because I did get some on the video and on the article, some really interesting comments that I went back and forth with and talked with people who said, you know what, you brought up some good points. I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I'm not, blind and deaf, and I wish that more people were, open-minded on these thoughts. Here are my opinions. And some people seem like maybe I changed their mind. Others, I didn't change their mind, but I got them to think. And other people won't change their mind no matter what. And these are the people who, let's say that a Bernie Sanders presidency happens, right? And then he starts, continuing the wars and doing all these things, just like we saw with Obama and we see with every other president. It's so sad for me to see these people who I believe are principled in some way, or at least they, don't say they don't like the status quo, when their candidate gets into office, they then start supporting the status quo, once their candidate starts to show their true colors and become a liar. And it's always sad to see that. So I just wanted to rant about that for a minute. It's just sad to see that. And if you are feeling the burn, keep your mind and your eyes and your heart open to, truth, whether it hurts or not, and whether that means you endorse the candidate or not. And one last point on this before I move forward to the actual news is, people tell me, well, if you're just looking for somebody that's going to be perfect and that's going to think exactly like you, then you're going to be waiting forever. And I understand that. Maybe it's unrealistic to have the notion that somebody might actually keep the promises they say and mean the things they say and, really stand up for the people. But I think even if, say, Bernie Sanders is a heart of gold, or any of these people, or if I was to go run into politics, that the system itself corrupts people. It's the same thing with the police as an institution. You have to compromise yourself just to be a part of it to try to infect and change the system. So there really is no way to do it without, you're participating in it, basically. You justify the system. So to me, it's not about finding a perfect candidate, and there's never going to be a perfect candidate, but we definitely need people who are going to be principled. And unfortunately, it seems like the truly principled people have no interest in politics. So for those, it's unfortunate for those who want to vote, but it's not, a dire situation necessarily. The sooner that we accept that the politics won't change the world in the way we want it, the sooner we can start focusing on working on ourselves, working on our communities, and building solutions through ideas like agorism and simply decentralizing, localizing, all this stuff. And I talk plenty about this. We'll talk more about that later. But if you're interested, I promise you, there are tons more solutions. It's not just vote or do nothing.